Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Kuwait Foundation for the Advancement of Sciences thanks you for attending this first-of-its-kind event in Kuwait and the Arab world, the Kuwait imec Visionary Seminar. This seminar will unveil future technologies that are currently being developed at the Inter-University Microelectronics Center at Belgium, also known as my imec. To start with, I would like to welcome Kfas Director General, Dr. Adnan Ahmed Shahabuddin, to give his opening statement. Welcome, Dr. Adnan.
Good morning, everybody. صباحكم الله بالخير جميعا. سأتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية لأن هناك عدد لا بأس فيه من القادمين من خارج الكويت، وخصوصا شركائنا الذين سوف يقدمون المحاضرات. لكن بداية يسعدني أن أرحب بكم جميعا، وأنا أشكر جميع الحضور على اهتمامهم بهذه الندوة. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this seminar entitled Kuwait imec Visionary Seminar Exploring Technology for a Sustainable Future. And let me from the outset thank our partners from imec who are here with us to share with us what they have been showing in similar settings and capitals around the world. I was privileged to attend a couple of them, one in Brussels or near Brussels and one in San Francisco recently, and I thank them for sharing with us the information about the future technologies based on microelectronics. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that we live in an exciting era, at least when it comes to technology. We know that technology drives imagination, and imagination in turn drives the development of technology, and often it is disruptive technology, especially over the past couple of decades. And when there is no limit to as how far we can progress, as long as we are willing to commit to our goals and to invest in nurturing the culture of innovation. Investment in infrastructure, but more importantly, in the development of human capital, is key toward advancement in science and technology, as we all know. The outcome of such investments is evidence in the enormous progress that has been achieved by a great number of individuals as well as enterprises in many countries around the world. As an example, just simple example of such progress, let me cite the Intel processor of today is the size, I'm told, of a fingernail and has over 7 billion transistors in that fingernail. Each is 14 nanometers in size. For those of you who don't know what a nanometer is, a meter you know it, a nanometer is 10 to the minus 9. So you need 10 billions of these units to get into a meter. So what was once considered to be unimaginable is today a reality. The pace in recent years of technological development and their penetration in the marketplace in particular has been phenomenal. And as I said earlier, often disruptive, covering all aspects of our lives and the economies of the societies we live in. And we benefit from their growth. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, Kuwait strongly believes in the importance of global technological advancement to the world economies, the value and the importance of global technological advancement to world economies and to Kuwait in particular. And Kfas believes that enabling Kuwaiti scientists, engineers, as well as the business community and society at large with these technological advancement is the pathway to a sustainable knowledge-based future of Kuwait. Kfas encourages collaborative projects among national, regional, and international institutions in areas of mutual interest, particularly in water, energy, and environment, and health. In 2015, for example, Kfas provided a total of 6.5 million KDs in grants for funding mission-oriented collaborative research that aims specifically to address key national priorities. Those were undertaken by researchers, collaboration of researchers from local Kuwaiti institutions such as Kisr, Kuwait University, in partnership with scientists from international centers of excellence such as IMEC, MIT, and Oxford Energy Institute, and others. Kfas also believes and is committed to facilitating market penetration of technologies that we think is very useful to Kuwait. An example, Kfas recently sponsored some vital pilot demonstration projects to promote the accelerated expansion of applications of rooftop solar panels in residential buildings and parking areas in cooperative societies. The initial phase of this project, which is almost completed, is targeting making provisions or providing photovoltaic system to 2 cooperative societies, Zahra and Adeliya, as well as 100 carefully selected private homes, to demonstrate that solar rooftop is actually a technology that is competitive and can benefit individual, citizen, the country, and the business community as well. With our partners in government and business, the next phase will be to expand the application to 10 societies and 1,500 homes. And we hope this will be part of the Kuwait Development Plan 2017-2019. And our aim is to go from 150 to 1,500 to 15,000, 150,000 homes, hopefully before 2030, contributing such to the fulfillment of the vision of His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed, in having renewables contribute 15% to the electricity generation in Kuwait by the year 2030. In 2013, Kfas engaged with IMEC, our partners, and Kuwait University in a 3-year collaborative agreement targeting the field of photovoltaics and renewable energy at the same time. This collaboration between Kuwait University and IMEC scientists was part of a larger international research consortium at IMEC aimed at developing advanced and more efficient photovoltaic solar cells technologies at lower manufacturing cost. Upon the successful completion of the first phase, which ended 2015, Kfas extended its support to the second phase of this project that commenced early in 2016, which is expected to be completed at the end of 2018. And this collaboration, already underway, has led to the development of some cutting-edge silicon-based solar cells with efficiencies exceeding 23% and a higher than that at a competitive cost. In addition, futuristic technologies are being developed, including thin-film silicon-based solar cell and perovskite-based solar cell. Imagine if solar cells can be developed at a cheap cost to cover all of the high-rise building in Kuwait, Singapore, New York. And by the way, this is not just imagination. On a pilot scale, it's already happening. But imagine if this could be made available to everybody in few years. I will be in Singapore 25th of this month as part of a panel advising the Minister of Energy. And one of the challenges they have in Singapore is that they cannot apply rooftop solar cells. They just simply don't have the land. Neither, like Kuwait, the desert, and most of their dwelling is high-rise. So what they're looking for is the application of photovoltaic and high-rise building. And the only way they can do it is by integrating thin films as part of the building materials, in fact, as part of the glass windows. So you don't even add a thin film. the glass itself will have that property. And that's what we hope our scientists here in Kuwait, in collaboration with others, that will be able to achieve such vision. imec, our partners, is headquartered in the city of Louvain, and by the way, it's a very beautiful city in Belgium, with a satellite of research centers in Europe covering and Asia and the United States. imec has established one of the largest research networks in the world in this field. imec leads the research in nanoelectronics, as I've said, leveraging in scientific knowledge with the innovative power of its global partnership. And we are delighted that Kuwait University, with the support of Kfas, is part of that partnership. And that partnership aims to deliver industry-relevant sustainable technologies solutions. As a result of such successful collaboration between Kfas, KU, and imec, we anticipate cultivating additional scientific alliances in promising fields, some of which will be showcased today in the seminar. Dear guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that science and technology interactions through such workshops and seminars between the scientists and the business community will provide useful incentives to advance such closer collaborations between these two communities. Today, the Visionary Seminar, which is the first of its kind in Kuwait and possibly in the region, I can't be sure 100% that it was not done in Dubai before. But we are proud that it is being held in Kuwait, and it will address future applications of technology in several areas, including engineering, healthcare, and life sciences, energy. What will be presented today, I am confident, and will be shown by our imec partners, which has been shown annually at a series of international technology forums in a number of major world capitals, as mentioned earlier. The spectrum of what you are about to see is broad, and many interesting topics will be covered and presented by imec program directors, and welcome all of you to Kuwait. It will also include two parallel sessions where attendees can interact with the imec scientists and managers and discuss the technical issues in more details. I'm certain that this visionary seminar will cultivate fertile ground of highly promising scientific ideas and enable mutual exchanges of scientific and technological knowledge, as well as to serve as a platform for interaction between and among scientists, technologists, industrials, and the business community at large to explore potential investment in opportunities, future technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that we live in an exhilarating time with potential expansion of technological development and their thrilling, often disruptive applications combined with highly dramatic opportunities offered by the advancement in genetic engineering in various fields. This nexus of application of both advanced electronics on the one hand and genetic engineering technologies on the other hand is ushering us to a cusp in the evolution of life on Earth, at least in my humble views, pointing to a new and distinct modern branch for mankind, for human beings. Perhaps a new form of what we call Homo sapiens, which we are all part of. This new form will combine man and machine, intelligence and capabilities, and possibly a combination of the rich but subtle emotions of both. A branch that one day we may call Homo robot, or perhaps Robo sapien. So finally, Kfas, as a leading national organization for the promotion of science and technology and innovation in Kuwait, is pleased to use its global science and technology network to sponsor this seminar, exploring, as I mentioned, the thrilling and rapid application of technology development, serving a brighter, dynamic, but sustainable future for mankind and the environment we happen. We are proud, especially of our role as a catalyst, because Kfas is a catalyst. As a catalyst on behalf of the private sector that funds Kfas, and on behalf of the government that sponsors Kfas. A catalyst that enables possibilities, driving human and business potential, and leading progress and growth of science and technology and innovation in Kuwait. We shall continue to support local scientists, academics, technologists, and the business community and the youth in bringing these developmental changes with global dimension that are essential for achieving sustainability in Kuwait. Before I conclude, let me acknowledge the sustained support once again of the private shareholding companies who provide for Kfas to do what it's doing, and also to realize its mission and vision that is laid out and set out by the chairman of the board of directors, His Highness, the Emir of the State of Kuwait, the chairman of its board of directors. I hope you will derive as much benefit from this seminar, and would like to extend my gratitude to imec scientists and managers and the organizing committee at Kfas and Kuwait University and Kisser for their help and support in organizing this event. Thank you very much, and I took too much of your time, so I wish you a very successful seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Adnan, for the informative remarks. As Dr. Adnan mentioned earlier, Kfas, as a catalyst in supporting science, technology, and innovation system in Kuwait, hopes that this seminar will provide scientists, businessmen, and industrialists interested in the establishment and development of technology-based industries in Kuwait the chance to be exposed to research and development activities that lead to futuristic technologies aiming towards sustainability. To begin with our program, I would like to welcome Mr. Rudy Kartovels, Senior Vice President, Smart Systems and Energy Technologies, to the podium. Mr. Rudy Kartovels leads imec's research and development on smart systems and energy technologies. He has a master's degree in electrical engineering from KU Leuven in 1990 and started his career at imec in the field of advanced complementary metal oxide semiconductor technologies. He was also appointed Vice President and General Manager of imec's Semiconductor Process Technology Unit. Since 2011, he is Senior Vice President of imec's Smart Systems and Energy Technologies Unit. He will present imec's research and development in the field of smart systems and energy technology. So welcome, Mr. Rudy. I would also like just to note to you that there will be a discussion session at 1 p.m. for both life sciences and energy. So if you have any questions, please keep them for the discussion sessions at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. I had a very warm welcome here last night in Kuwait, and I'm very grateful that imec has the opportunity here to present today to you its vision on how technology can actually build a sustainable future. So I also like to particularly thank Kfas and Dr. Adnan for giving us the opportunity here to be here and interact with you, because we believe building technology for a sustainable future also means collaboration. And I think the society can only advance if we work together. And we are also very happy that we are already working together with Kuwait University now for many years, and we hope also with this seminar that we can interact with you and brainstorm on some other societal challenges and technologies to tackle those. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you imec and to talk about what imec is actually doing. So imec was established in 1984, and that means that we are already doing more than 30 years of R&D in nanoelectronics. It actually spun out of the university 30 years ago as an initiative of Professor Van Overstraten, who actually did his PhD in Stanford at the time that Silicon Valley started booming. And when he came back to Belgium, he had a vision of building what he called a super lab. And it took him about 15 years to convince the government that it was worthwhile investing in microelectronics. At that time it was still called micro. Today it's all nano. But eventually he succeeded in convincing the government, and that's how imec got established 32 years ago. And at that time, the government invested 60 million euro. The euro didn't exist yet, but that was the equivalent number, to set up imec as an independent R&D organization. And that was at that time a very bold move, both from university point of view as well as from the government point of view, to make such a large investment. Today, imec has become a world-leading R&D organization in nanoelectronics and digital technology. And you see on the pictures, this is the picture of our headquarter campus, where we've built an infrastructure that is today worth more than €1 billion, where we can do top-notch, state-of-the-art R&D on technology. We've also built a great top talented team from researchers all over the world. imec is very proud to work with different nationalities. We have more than 74 nationalities today that are actually working in several imec teams on technology development. And we've really become a trusted partner for many companies to deliver their next generations of technologies. And imec is really focusing on how to build an industry-relevant technology. That means that our mission is to bring original ideas that originate, for instance, at universities and bring them up to a maturity level that industry can actually build products with it. We're serving more than 600 companies today, and our revenue will top 500 million euro this year, of which 80% comes directly from industry. We are very proud to have a human capital force of 3,500 people. Of those 3,500 people, 500 are residents from our industrial partners that are working with us and jointly developing technology. We also have more than 800 PhD students today that are working at imec closely with our R&D teams. We also have several sites in the world. We are present in US, Europe, and Asia. This graph gives you a little bit of a view of the imec revenue growth over the past 32 years. And this year we will achieve more than 500 million euros in revenue, 80% of which comes directly from industry. So it's really a testimony towards the industry relevance of the work that we do. So what does imec do? Well, this is a top-level view of our innovation platform. So imec is active in scaling CMOS technology, and Dr. Adnan already pointed out the Intel transistor of 14 nanometer. So in our core CMOS program, we are already working on 2 generations ahead of what industry puts in production. So our current focus is 7, 5, and 3 nanometer technology development. But we're also developing other technologies. There are technologies for sensors, for photonics, optical technologies, flexible electronics, as well as the intuitive Internet of Things. These are more application programs where we are building sensing and connectivity solutions for various applications. A very important area is also health. It's a strong growing area at imec, where we are developing technologies for wearable devices that monitor parameters from the body, and also silicon chips for diagnostic tests. And then finally, we also have activities on renewable energy. We call the Internet of Power, where we are developing photovoltaics, power devices, and energy storage solutions. We recently also acquired another research organization in Belgium, and that research organization was actually focusing on the software side of things: data science, distributed trust, security, and networking software. That's an organization of approximately 1,000 people, and that merger actually happened a month ago. So with this today, now imec actually is able to offer end-to-end solutions all the way going up from technology to software and applications for various application domains. And this is what we believe will be the future. So we are entering, as we call, the IoT era, the Internet of Things era, where today everything will become smarter. Our buildings, our vehicles, things that we will wear on the body, furniture. We will build sensing solutions and connectivity in everything. And in order to do that, you need to innovate both at the technology level, at the electronic system level, but also at the software and application and data level. And we are very happy now that we have all those competences under one roof. Besides the R&D, imec also performs services for industry. And these services are called IC-Link. And IC-Link is really the gateway to commercial available technologies. And we offer that for a lot of academic groups. For instance, academic groups that want to design very innovative circuits, we give them access to foundry technology, and we help them to set up the complete supply chain for that. We not only do that for academic groups, we also do it for startup companies. And we today do more than 500 tape-outs per year, serving more than 300 SMEs and 700 research institutes worldwide. Besides doing the research part, imec also supports the full innovation chain. For a number of applications, we really need to do the development, the prototyping, and even the low volume production. And if it's a high volume application, we also support the transfer to high volume manufacturing. We have several ways of interacting with partners. We do a lot of joint R&D using an open innovation platform. This is, for instance, also the way we are today engaged with Kuwait University. We do also a transfer of technology and licensing of IP. We offer engineering services. We provide a lot of training through imec Academy. And we also support our local industry in Flanders through our imec Interact activities. And finally, we also create spin-off companies. imec has created about 40 spin-off companies so far. We have several business models to work with partners. And those business models support open research programs all the way up to bilateral product development. And it really depends on what the needs of the specific partners are that we can employ either of these models. So our open research programs, typically we gather together the interest of many companies in a specific technology. And it's by a collaborative effort that we advance the state of the art of the technology. We share the IP, we share the risk, and we share the costs. There are also models where companies engage with us in open innovation platforms, but they are also asking us to do private R&D, and we support both options. And then there are a number of partners today that ask us to build a prototype or even support a full product development. Everything we do at imec and the way we work with partners is reflected in our values. And we really cherish our values of integrity, passion, connectedness, and excellence. imec is really regarded as a trusted partner today, and there is mutual respect both in the excellence of the work that we do as well as the recognition of the excellence of the partners that we work with. You will find that our people are very passionate about their work, and I hope you will see that also today in our presentations, and we are very engaged in what we do. But we also have to be very agile because it's a very interesting time, it's a very fast-moving industry, and we have to adapt very quickly to new opportunities. Connectedness is very important because whatever we do, the technology is incredibly complex, and you can only successfully deliver results by working together. So we need to be connected internally, but we also need to be connected externally with the whole ecosystem of companies that are driving the technology. And of course, in everything that we do, we have to strive for excellence. We have to have top-notch results, be present at top-notch conferences to show that we are the leader in the field. So I'm going to give you a quick glance of what we are doing in our innovation platform, and today in the following talks you will get more details. So first of all, our core CMOS activities. In our core CMOS activities, we are scaling the CMOS transistors to the ultimate dimensions. And today, imec's focus is 7, 5, and 3 nanometer technology, where there is an interesting roadmap of going from FinFET devices to multi-channel lateral devices, even going up to vertical devices. And besides the roadmap, we are providing our partners access to very early data. So you see those micrographs, which are cross-sections of transistors today, which are already showing feature sizes of 4 nanometers, going even down to the 3 nanometer roadmap today. And this allows our partners to get very early insight in how the next generation technology would look like. We do this together with really the leading pack of the industry. So all of the leading semiconductor manufacturers, foundries, and fabless companies are actually present at imec, and we leverage our network with our supplier partners to deliver the technologies. So we work with all of the major equipment suppliers and material suppliers that put their latest tools and make available their latest materials to imec to actually build those technologies. In our smart systems and energy technologies, we are focusing more on the application side of things. And one area which is a very strong growing area is intuitive Internet of Things. And in intuitive Internet of Things, our vision is that we will be able to deliver the building blocks for what we call proximity-based services to the right user at the right place at the right time. It means that everything will become smarter, our buildings, our cars, and because they become smarter, because they sense things about the environment, we can actually build a new economy of a service model to offer the right information based on that sensing data to the user at the right place and the right time. So we are building technology blocks that allows us to connect things together through very high-speed networks, but also sensor networks and sensor technologies. I'm going to give you a glance of what we are doing here. In terms of high-speed connectivity, we are actually building circuit solutions for cellular and connectivity radios. So these are the very advanced radio front ends today that go into your mobile phones, and we're actually advancing the speed as well as the power consumption that needs to go lower to make sure that bandwidths get better and bigger. An important part of that technology is also millimeter wave technology, where we're actually already building solutions in the 60 gigahertz space, and that can also be used to build point-to-point connections in cities and actually stream 10 gigabit per second data from one building to another. We're also building cellular technology for sensor networks. So today, sensors only can consume a very low amount of power because they are very battery constrained. And that means that the connectivity solutions have to take those constraints into account. So we are building cellular IoT connectivity solutions that allow you to actually connect a sensor with a cellular network. But since the whole solution will be heterogeneous, we're also looking at low-power Wi-Fi solutions as well as multi-standard solutions for IoT. So all these circuit innovations are demonstrated today in foundry technology, and we work with partners to actually commercialize that for their products. Besides building the connectivity solution, you also need to test it. And imec has been very active in setting up smart city test beds. So today we actually have several test beds that are rolled out on our own campus. For instance, in the Holst campus in the Netherlands, we have an air quality network monitoring exercise ongoing, as well as the city of Antwerp, which is also the third largest port in Belgium, where we actually have installed more than 100 gateways to do actually real city experiments. And that allows us actually to test our solutions in a real environment. We're also working on the sensing side of things, and an important sensor, especially for automotive sector, is radar. And actually, what we're doing at imec is miniaturizing the radar. And today, the radar is already miniaturized up to a level that is just measuring a few centimeters and is based on CMOS technology. So those chips and circuits are being built at imec and tested, and we are working together with several silicon suppliers as well as with the car OEM community to actually deploy those type of radars in the car of tomorrow. We're also working further on scaling radar to the chip level, where it will only be less than a fingernail in size, and that can actually be integrated in buildings. And by doing that, you can actually do, in a very non-intrusive way, person detection in buildings, and for instance, do climate control in buildings, depending on how many people are present. And that's all based on radar technology. Besides radar, we're also working on LiDAR, and LiDAR is also an important technology for automotive, but also, for instance, in city architectures and city planning and mapping. Today, LiDAR systems are very expensive. You can buy them, and they cost approximately around $70,000, and it's because they contain a lot of discrete components, lasers, optical components, rotating parts. What we are doing is miniaturizing it and actually integrating the optical functionality at the chip level. For that, we are using photonic technology, and we've really built a very strong platform today of photonic building blocks that can actually support all the functionalities that we need to build LiDAR systems. And that will allow us to offer solutions which will be below $500 range to be deployed in cars, but also in smart cities of the future. We're also working on image sensing, and for image sensing we are actually developing customized solutions for industrial instrumentation, life sciences, space physics, transport sector, and machine vision. And it typically is a combination of very special requirements in terms of speed, power consumption, noise performance, and sometimes also non-visible sensing or red-hard sensing. And just to give you a few examples, these are some of the custom image sensors that we have developed for companies. These are sensors that require technologies that are not off-the-shelf available, and that's why we actually custom make them for our partners. This is, for instance, a very large image sensor that we built for one partner, and you see the size. It measures 6 by 7 centimeters. So an extremely large sensor that will be actually integrated in an instrument that will be used for scientific experimentation. We also built the first 4K 2K camera, which is now in production. And we also released last year a sensor for medical applications that actually will be implanted in the body. In terms of hyperspectral sensing, we also actually developed a solution that allows us to miniaturize the size of the camera. What you see here on the screen is a hyperspectral camera, and what a hyperspectral camera does is it allows you to generate an image in every wavelength of choice. And by doing so, you can actually do material detection. Now, these cameras are scientific cameras, and they're very expensive. They cost like $30,000, $40,000. So what we have done is we have integrated the optical path of the camera directly onto an image sensor. And that makes that the camera now becomes very compact. And it looks like this. And that allows you actually to not only lower the cost, but also it becomes much more mobile, and it opens up a whole new range of new possibilities. For instance, we are working with companies to use it for precision agriculture, where today these little cameras, it only weighs 20 grams, are now mounted on drones, and those drones fly over fields to do crop analysis or soil analysis. So that way, using the hyperspectral images, we can now see on a terrestrial level how your soil is composed, how your crops are doing, have they been affected by any diseases, and which diseases have they been affected. And that is very useful information because it allows you actually to optimize the yield of your crop growth much faster. Another area of importance is health. And we believe silicon technology will play a very strong role in health. And our vision is that we want to provide medical quality data in everyone's reach. So a lot of things today that need to be done in hospital labs, we can actually move much closer to the patients. And we want to put that to use for both improving the chronic disease management of people by actually monitoring them at the comfort of their home, but also for personal and preventive health care. Now, developing chip technology for health, you cannot do that alone. And technology without application knowledge doesn't mean anything. So this is why it's very important that we closely collaborate with medical institutes that bring a lot of the application knowledge to us. And we've really established an international network of expertise centers in medical domain, and we're working with our local hospitals as well as with hospitals in the US or other hospitals in Europe. And we put actually our devices in the hands of doctors. This is what we need to do to make sure to validate the technology that we are developing and to make sure it actually solves the problem in an adequate way. And today you will hear a number of examples in the following talks, and I've summarized some of them here on this slide. We've developed medical devices for cardiac rhythm analysis for critical cardiac patients, and this will now come on the market as an FDA-approved product this year. We also worked on very advanced wristbands to do full cardiac monitoring on the wristband, full ECG, as well as blood pressure monitoring. With a Japanese partner, we developed the first emergency room EEG device. Today, if people are brought into the emergency room, there is no availability of EEG to see if the brain functions. And that's because hooking up a current EEG takes 30 minutes. This is a mobile device that you can actually already deploy either in the emergency room or in the ambulance to quickly check whether the brain has been damaged in an accident. So there are many more applications that we have, applications for pregnancy. You will also hear applications for doing blood tests in a very compact form factor, as well as implantable devices where we are developing, for instance, very advanced neuroprobes. You see that on the bottom right here, that are actually implanted in the brain and are recording neural signals and can also be used to actually stimulate the neurons as well by sending electrical signals. Finally, Internet of Power, renewable energies is very important, and we are working on a number of technologies to enable that. We are working on GaN power switching, gallium nitride, and gallium nitride is an interesting material because it allows you to switch at higher frequencies much more efficiently than silicon does. And because of that, you can actually shrink the size of an electronic system. Converters, inverters, and solar panels can be made much smaller and also at lower cost by using gallium nitride devices. And we are working today on the gallium nitride technology. We do that on 200 millimeter substrate. And of course, we benchmark ourselves with the leaders in the field, where we try to offer the lowest RON resistance for the highest breakdown. We're also working on solar energy. This is an example of our N-type PERT silicon solar cell. So it's a full-size cell where we can achieve 22.6%. And we have already results in the lab that are beyond 23% today on solar cells. Dr. Adnan also referred to it. Besides the solar panels on your roof, building integrated PV will become very important, and we are looking at thin film technologies that can be applied to windows or facades of buildings to actually generate energy. And one of the technologies that is very promising is perovskite technology today, where we are building cells and full module technology and getting them ready for integration in buildings. Finally, we're also working on solid-state battery, and the aim for solid-state batteries is to increase the safety of the batteries as well as to allow fast charging and actually have lower volume and weight and increase the reliability. For that, we are developing solid-state composite electrolyte material. It's very intense material research. And today we are building the first battery cells using those thin film technologies. We're doing that on silicon wafers as well as on flexible formats, because silicon wafers will not be the final solution for the battery technology, but it's a platform for us today to understand the behavior of materials. Ultimately, it will be applied to very large surfaces. We have also clustered our energy work together with other research organizations in Flanders, and we are working with KU Leuven and Vito and University of Hasselt, and we've grouped actually all our activities on energy in one location, which is called Energyville. And that allows us now to bring all the competences together, actually, in terms of battery management, smart grid, PV systems, PV materials development, electronics, and everything in one location. And just a couple of weeks ago, the first building of that location, you see the campus here, it's near Genk, it's called Thor Park. The first building was opened, and the second building, also where imec will do its PV module research, will be opened in 2018. Then we are also working on flexible electronics, where we are actually integrating thin film technology in flexible form factors, actually in plastic, that offers very low cost solutions. And it can be deployed for flexible displays, as well as for wearable technologies, building sensor arrays, and finally also for IoT applications. And you will hear more in the talk of Paul today on some of the results and applications that we have achieved using that type of technology. In smart systems and energy technologies, we work together with many different partners. We are serving partners in healthcare. We are working together with companies in power electronics. We are working together with universities, with medical expertise centers. So it's a very broad area of partnerships that we have. And we are also very happy that we are engaged here with Kuwait University. We already started exploration in 2007, 2008, and that resulted actually in a partnership, as Dr. Adnan said, in 2013. And it's a really strong partnership where I believe the two teams have really gotten to know each other very well, and this is something that we want to use as a foundation to expand our interactions also in other areas where we believe technology will make a difference. So that concludes my talk, and thank you very much for your attention.
On behalf of Dr. Peter Pumans, we would like to welcome Dr. Roland Heiss, Business Development Manager, to update us on semiconductor technologies for healthcare applications. Dr. Roland studied microelectronics engineering at the University in Leuven and his PhD in life science technology at imec on the topic complementary metal oxide semiconductor technologies, microelectrode arrays for neurophysiological applications. Later, he managed technology projects such as on-chip microscopy and integrated biosensors. Today, as a business development manager, Dr. Roland is responsible for building bridges between imec's advanced nanotechnology, research and development, and production capabilities with the life sciences and healthcare sectors. Please welcome Dr. Roland. By the time we change you need to change your laptop.
So thanks for inviting us on stage today. I see it's a very diverse audience today. I see a lot of young people from the university, people motivated to do something, change their environment. Also, I see very experienced people. Can I ask you a question? Who has a background in medical or bio? You can put your hands. Ah, okay. And a lot of engineers as well, I presume? All right. Okay, so we have a very diverse audience, and I try to, of course, make a presentation that can combine both, because that's what we do at imec. We're passionate about life sciences and healthcare, and I'd like to guide you through our vision. What do we believe will be important in the future, and how semiconductor technology can help? And I hope I can open a discussion to see if you're interested to take with us that journey in the future. So let's start with what are really the problems today. So the costs of healthcare are rising. It's a global trend. It's happening everywhere. And it's being recognized by the World Health Organization as something that will become really a problem in the future, especially for developed countries, but also for developing countries. We're going to come to a situation that healthcare will be hard to afford, even for middle-class people. And the question is why, and how can we stop this trend? By the way, I yesterday pulled this recent data. It seems that also the Kuwait has a similar problem, right? You also have increasing healthcare expenses. So if you take a look at where are we spending our money in healthcare, what you see is that about 31% is going to hospital care. This means that in hospitals, of course, you have patients that have to stay there for example, surgery. You have to stay there after the surgery for a while. You need patient follow-up. There's a lot of intensive, let's say, people that are working like nurses and doctors to follow up patients, and then you're discharged. So it's a very expensive model, because in many cases patients actually could go home in earlier situations and be followed at home. So that's the first thing where we wonder, is there something there that we can do? A second expense that you see is the physician and the clinical people. So of course, if you have a problem, you go to your doctor. One thing you can wonder is, maybe you can detect your problem earlier. Maybe it's something that doctors can have faster access to your medical records. They can have faster access to diagnostics. They can have a more accurate diagnostic results while you are at your first doctor visit. And maybe that would also help in improving these tests and improving these costs when you visit your physician. A lot of costs go to nursing home cares, home health. Home health being nurses have to come to your home and assist the patients at home. And of course, very specialized services for let's say, rare diseases, for example. So this is a very much growing cost, since a typical trend everywhere in developing countries is an aging problem. Actually, we only spend approximately 10% of our healthcare to drugs, which is actually a bit weird, because we think drugs are, let's say, the solution, right? You have a problem, the doctor diagnoses you, you take a pill, and that's how you solve your diseases. But that's not true, because most of the expenses go to other things. So also, if you look at where are costs going, the largest costs are, for example, Alzheimer's disease, lung disease, diabetes, and cardiovascular problems. So chronic diseases take the largest amount of costs in our healthcare system. These are diseases that take a lot of time. Often they can start at young age, and young people are taxpayers. So that's something you definitely want to avoid in a society. So an important measure to understand what's going on in terms of diseases and the impact of our society is the disability adjusted life year. That's a measure to see how a disease is actually influencing your lifespan. And what you see there, the number one problem is cancer. And that's exactly the problem. Cancer you can get at young ages. It can start from the 40s. People who get cancer often spend decades in treatments and often have a risk of dying. And this is, for society, has a very big impact. The problem with cancer is it's ongoing research. There's still a lot that we don't know about cancer. A second problem is a heart disease, and the heart diseases are two causes. Typically, the aging problem in society is having a big impact, of course, on heart diseases, and also the lifestyle. So lifestyle has a big impact on problems with cardiovascular systems. And then other problems like the cerebrovascular diseases is related to similar causes, diabetes, and then we have other causes. So if you look at just cancer alone, it takes about 1.5% of the world budget in expenses. So this is also something I pulled up recently. What's happening in the Arab world? What you see is that at young ages, the biggest impacts you have are actually infectious diseases and other like neonatal disorders. At higher age, you see that cancer becomes a very important factor. Also, you have mental disorders, for example, or Diabetes is a big problem, apparently. So there are a lot of, let's say, aspects of age that play a role, and also a lot of aspects of diseases where you can wonder, okay, aren't there things we can do in terms of earlier detection, in terms of prevention, and in terms of improving our healthcare system to tackle these problems. So another problem that we see is drug development becomes extremely expensive. So you see this curve is exponential. It's starting from the 70s, where typically for $200 million, a new drug target can be developed. And drug development typically starts with a panel of molecules, target molecules you want to test and improve, up to the point that you go to clinical tests and acceptance on the market. And this has been exponentially growing. Today, we're approximately $2 billion on expenses if a company wants to launch a new drug. That's also a huge hurdle in terms of the improvement of the healthcare sector. So, to summarize all this, we have to improve healthcare efficiency. So, first of all, prevention is important, monitor the lifestyle. We want to detect diseases earlier. We want to reduce the time spent in the hospital, develop new treatments, new therapies, and improve drug development cycles. And the top diseases are cancer, cardiovascular, diabetes, and so on, infectious diseases and mental. So the trends that you see in the medical sector that's happening today is that a lot of new R&D tools are being developed. This means new methods for scientists to analyze how the genome works, how diseases impact us, and how drug developments can be done. So new drug development therapies go to very targeted drugs. To give you an example, if you take a pill, you basically take a lot of molecules that circulate in your body. If you go for targeted drugs, with very few nanoparticles, you can target very specifically, for example, certain cancers. So these are very advanced new drug therapies, and there's a lot of technology needed to support this community in developing new therapies. Personalized medicine is an important trend. In personalized medicine, what's happening is that a patient itself, for example, his white blood cells are used to transfect, to change their impact, and to directly target a disease in your own body. So these are very advanced methods, and the society needs tools to develop these. Also on prevention, you can do a lot of things, for example, on epidemics. Epidemic outbreaks are a big problem, and you know also here in the Arab world there recently have been some epidemics outbreaks, like the camel flu, for example. So there you can wonder, are there methods that we can much faster detect the genome of the viruses that are breaking out, map them and contain them, have, for example, a certain treatment very soon, or we can tackle the problem early on. Patient monitoring and patient compliance is also important, as I just explained. If we can have patients going home earlier, if we can have them monitoring for chronic diseases, and a doctor can see early on what the impact is of a drug or a molecule on his body, it will help the patient, it will help also the drug development cycle. For example, this is very important, for example, in clinical trials. And also, precision diagnostics is very important. So if you consider this, if you go to a doctor, typical doctors still use 19th century technology to diagnose you. They listen to your heart with a stethoscope. If you draw blood, the tests that are being done are similar in many cases as what they did in the 19th century, looking through a microscope and counting your blood cells, for example. So in diagnostics, on the other hand, in the research society, there are a lot of very advanced diagnostic techniques being developed. The problem is how to get them to the patient, and that's a challenge. All right, so now I'm going to talk about something completely different. So IMec is a semiconductor company. We're a chip manufacturer, or chip R&D and manufacturing company. So a trend that has been happening in the semiconductor industry is that in the 1950s, the first computers were about $6 million, were tons, and had about 5,000 operations per second. Today, a smartphone is about $500. It's very light, and you can have operations up to 87 gigaflops. So if you just look into the amount of operation, the cost for amount of operations that has been evolving in this industry, it's a 10 to the 11th increase in value. And that's an amazing evolution. Now, the question is, how can we translate this evolution towards the medical industry? How can we help, how can silicon industry help the medical industry to have similar progression? So Rudy already explained, in imec we have a lot of activities related to health. So we have a very diverse, let's say, set of integration. We work with patches and wearable solutions, and Chris van Hoof will go much more in detail on those technologies. The life sciences department in imec works on the molecular part, so sensing and interaction with tissues, cells, DNA and proteins. So there's lots of applications in life sciences, so R&D, drug development, diagnostics and therapeutics. So there is one thing that semiconductor and biology have in common, or two things they have in common. One thing is the size. With electronics nowadays we can go to nanometer sizes, which makes it extremely interesting to take a look at what is nanometer size in biology and how can we interact with it. Secondly, it's parallelism. So biology works with massive parallelism. You have billions of molecules interacting in parallel with each other. And this basically forms the philosophy of how life works. There's lots of interaction of molecules in parallel. Chip technology can do similar things. If we can make something small, we can scale it. We can also go to very high parallel, and let's say the game of numbers can be played. So in imec, we also want to, of course, progress not only on research, we also want to really make impact in society. And the best way to do this is to make sure that we make products that actually reach the patient. So where do we position ourselves in imec and the life sciences? First of all, we have a very strong background in silicon processing. We have $1 billion infrastructure. As Rudy said, I don't have to go too much in detail, but we have 30 years of experience in networking and playing a major role in the semiconductor industry. So that means we have availability and a lot of talent to do very advanced chip integration. The smart electronics department is looking into things more than just transistors. It looks into sensor technologies, into smart ways of connecting chips. And what we have done 10 years ago, we started activities in life sciences. Most of the work we have done in this department has been looking into how can we make materials that are used in the clean room into a seamless manufacturing line compatible with the biology. And that's an interesting thing to consider. So there are many research facilities in the world looking into very advanced sensor technologies for life sciences. The problem that these companies face at a certain stage is, okay, we have a nice prototype, we did a very interesting academic research, but now we want to manufacture this. And this is really becoming a clear problem for them, because the materials are not compatible with a supply chain that is supporting high volumes. So if you look at this from the bottom up, if you look at materials that are used today in clean rooms, if you look at the instruments that are used, the way that chips are integrated, and you make them compatible with the biology, then you can support new technologies in life sciences from early R&D, from early concept, prototyping, all the way to manufacturing. So, of course, to do that, we had to hire a lot of talent with a biomedical background, people with biology backgrounds, and also a lot of physics is involved in that. So we need a lot of physical experts to make it work on molecular level. And we built biolabs in imec. We now have more than 1,000 square meters of biolab space. And literally, when chips come out of our manufacturing line, we can test them with cells, with tissues, and molecules. So what is the value that we actually offer to the market today? So our expertise really lies into integrating complex chips. And of course, there's a lot of customized electronics we can do, custom imager designs, custom data acquisition integrated on chip. On top of that, we can integrate sensor systems, so very small sensors, nanotechnology, or MEMS-based solutions. A very important building block we have is the integration of optical systems. So in life sciences today, optics is still the most used technology. It's used for microscopy. Basically, looking at cells and morphology of cells and tissues can learn you a lot on, for example, diagnostic information. And also, a very important method is fluorescent microscopy. So fluorescent is a technique where you can actually interrogate molecules within cells to the molecular level and see their presence or their activation. And this is so commonly used that we have decided that integration of optical systems is extremely important. If you look at today's instrumentation in life sciences, most of the instruments today, advanced technologies, are large. They have a lot of optical systems, and most of that is calibration, is focusing, is sensitivity to vibrations and compensation for that. That makes the bulk of the costs today in those instruments. And what we have done is we have solved a lot of these problems by integrating them on a chip. By putting them on a chip, you can have a very local illumination, very local capturing of photons, and the alignment between the system and the biology is done by lithography, is done really in a clean room. So that gives you a very strong advantage in terms of sensitivity and stability, and also on the instrument cost. Microfluidics, of course, is a key factor because many things in life sciences is wet. Almost everything is wet biology. So what happens is manipulation of cells, manipulation of tissues, and on a molecular level, extracting, for example, DNA, proteins, and then looking at molecular level what is going on inside a cell. So we have a lot of possibilities in microfluidic integration at imec. Typically, our partner brings in the IP of their specific assay. So an assay is a set of molecules, a certain recipe of how you can really bring diagnostic value. And in the life sciences today, there is where the most value is, in the actual assay and how the molecule interaction are happening. So what are the values that we bring? So from top to bottom, typically by using microfluidics, we have a very reduced sample size. We can go from milliliters to microliters or even picoliter sizes. And sample size can be convenient. You can have a very small droplet of blood and get a lot of information out of that. But also a very important cost factor in life sciences are the reagents. The reagents are actually worth a lot of money. If you can scale that down to very small volumes, then you have a strong advantage. Integrated workflows are becoming also very important. So I will say a bit more about DNA in later. DNA workflows are extremely complex. You need to have extremely pure setup. You have to extract DNA from cells. You have to separate them, purify. And these workflows, if you really want to have reliable medical results, it's becoming more and more complicated for a lab to sustain this. If you have a clinical lab that collects blood tubes from patients, how do you actually get your trained personnel up to date to have the latest tests available and have them reliable enough? And this is where this market is struggling enormously. It's very hard to get these tests, for example, FDA approved, because of the manual overhead involved. So what we offer is integrated workflows. The chip can actually manipulate several aspects in the assay and do it automated. Another strong advantage is the fact that we can make it disposable. So the whole fluidic path in a test can be made in a chip that's relatively low cost and disposed of. So that means there's no contamination. You don't have to clean your tubes. And everything is basically by production qualified. As I said, integrated optics, we can go to compact instruments and improved efficiency. Integrated sensor solutions, there what we do is play with the economy of scale. So if you can make a sensor extremely small, you can parallelize it. So instead of one sensor in an instrument, you can put thousands of sensors on a chip. And there, the advantages with parallelization can go to an increase of throughput. So you can test, instead of one molecule, you can test thousands of molecules at the same time. At the same time, you can also increase sensitivity by slowing down a test, which is a trade-off that often you can do. for example, longer integration time, capturing more photons, but doing it in parallel increases the sensitivity. And finally, of course, we have a lot of nanotechnology, and the latest years we have more and more interaction with companies that are building nanotechnology devices like nanopores or nanochannels that literally have direct interaction on a nanoscale with molecules. And there's not many companies in the world that can support this, especially for the life sciences, and at the same time in a volume manufacturable session. And of course, we have a lot of custom electronics possibilities. One of the important things that is becoming more and more of a request in the industry is data safety. You want to have actually the data captured as close as possible to the patient and, for example, encrypted. And as Rudy mentioned recently, we have collaborated, or we have merged with imec, which will give us a lot of possibilities to also explore this market opportunity. So the collaborations we have are multiple. We have a very strong collaboration with Johns Hopkins Medicine. So there's a top-notch university in the States that's very eager to learn more how our technologies can help them on the medical side. Also, we have companies like Pacific Biosciences, Bionanogenomics, Genelite, Kfas. These are all biotech companies developing new tests and new diagnostic tools for the life sciences market. Also, we have companies like Samsung and Panasonic. Why? Because they see, of course, the value that chip technology can help bring healthcare closer to consumers, and they're consumer-based companies. And they see a big opportunity there that's becoming an emerging market. And also, pharma companies are interested to see how they can develop better drugs, how they can, for example, go to companion diagnostics. So, one thing that is very important is DNA, the genes. So the genes are the building blocks of your body. And it's extremely important to understand how the interaction of genes are with the molecules in your body. And a very important tool to do this is DNA sequencing. This is a part of what we call the whole genomics landscape. There's much more than sequencing, of course. But applications range from molecular biology, so understanding how the body works, how biology works, but also how diseases work. For example, how viruses encode their DNA and how they interact with your body. So for medicine, it has a huge impact, and it's a very important field. Drug discovery is also using more and more genomics to understand how the drugs actually are impacting the body and how to make them more effective. In diagnostics, genes are going to be used mostly, for example, cancer and infectious diseases, but also we see a lot of interest there going to other sorts of diagnostic tests. Also in therapy, personalized medicine, for example, is a very important trend. And then we have forensics, plant biology, etc., precision farming. So these there's a lot more to do with, but genes are extremely important. So we have about 20,000 genes in our body, about 3 million base pairs, and these are basically sort of binary encoding. So the whole idea of DNA sequencing is, can we digitize this? So an interesting thing to consider is in the beginning of 2000s, we started, in the world, the NIH started with funding the genomic decoding. And in the beginning it was very expensive. Decoding a complete genome is about $100 million. And then you have seen that the industry picked up. They saw the value, and you saw, of course, the economics improved. You had about 10-fold cost reduction in about 7 years time frame. Suddenly, new technologies kicked in. So de novo sequencing, for example, and sequencing by assembly, and that sort of techniques have been developed, which have been really driving the cost down significantly. So what we see is a very interesting trend that looks similar as what's happening in the semiconductor industry. So an important player, of course, here is parallelization, being able to test more genes in parallel, and the speed and the throughput. So one example of a company that has developed such technology is Pacific Biosciences. So they made a large instrument that is capable of sequencing DNA by using an enzyme into a nanowell structure. that is basically doing a synthesis, doing an analysis of a DNA base pair by base pair. And it generates a tiny amount of light into this nano-contained structure, which can be picked up by a sensor. So the first instrument they developed had the advantage that it had very long read lengths, and the accuracy of the data was very precise. So this instrument was used as a standard to actually measure up with other sequencing techniques. But the problem was the instrument was quite expensive. So they approached imec to develop a new generation of the system. And what we basically did is integrate all the optical systems of this instrument into a chip and parallelize it with a finer pitch and a higher density. So the result was that the chip became 7 times faster, 3 times smaller, and the system became half the price. So that was such a significant breakthrough. What you see in the right side are they call the SMRTs. So these are modules containing the chips. They're disposable, so you can put samples in there. The DNA is analyzed and digitized by the instrument. So imec developed that chip that's now in this product. Interestingly to notice is that this company, at the moment they launched, they had of course a huge stock increase, and their competitors, their stock decreased significantly. So that means the market immediately picked up the value of having this new chip technology inserted in their product. So another thing I want to address is cancer. So everybody is aware of cancer. It's a big problem. Typically, we have several stages in cancer. If you detect it very early on, what we call stage 0, you have a very high probability of survival. Even at stage 1, typically survival rates are over 70%. It means that the cancer is still very local, and with the right chemotherapy, you can treat it very well. The problem arises if you don't diagnose cancer on time. In a later stage, it starts to metastase, and then the survival rate goes very low. It's becoming a really very aggressive disease. So there, the question is, how can we detect it earlier? What you need is a diagnostic test that's available for everybody, that's available for all the patients preventively, that's easy to use, that's fast, and that can literally find needles in haystacks. So imec wants to tackle this with chip technology. So we have developed what we call a cell sorter device that's similar as a fax system. So the people with the biology background will probably know what that means. So it's capable of detecting a lot of cells, and from billions of cells, the idea is to find a very rare cell, pick it out, like with a tweezer, pick it out from the bloodstream and do an analysis, for example, DNA analysis, to have a more accurate genome sequencing or a detection of what sort of particle is in the blood. So the way that we make this so, let's say, so high performance is by a similar technology as the inkjet printer device. So it's a chip that's monolithic. On a square millimeter, we can make an actuator that generates a small bubble in approximately 10 microseconds, and this generates a jet stream that can push a cell to a certain output stream. So you can see it here at work. So if you use fluorescent detection, you can detect, for example, an antibody on the surface of the cell, and this could detect a rare activity or a rare event in the cell stream and pick out the cell. So the specifications we achieve now in a square millimeter are more than 5,000 cells per second, which is the top cell sorter specification today available in the market. Right. I have to wrap up already? Okay. Okay, another technology we're working on is the integration of complete microscopy on the chip. So there we can look at the morphology of a cell and use this as diagnostic information. So I don't have enough time to show all the technologies we do. There's maybe one thing I want to show, that's a small movie that explains a bit the philosophy here. Okay, there's no sound, 1 second. No. Okay.
across the globe. What makes cancer especially lethal is its spreading through the body, known as metastasis. Early detection of the highly aggressive circulating tumour cells responsible for the metastasis would allow us to treat cancer patients even before the cancer has spread. However, such circulating tumour cells are extremely hard to find. Typically, only one tumour cell can be found for every 10 billion red and white blood cells. We're literally searching for a needle in a haystack. imec has developed a technique that can rapidly analyse and distinguish different types of cells. The high-content, high-throughput cell imaging and sorting system is compact, low-cost and easy to use. Through parallelization, systems that can inspect and sort up to 20 million cells per second are possible. The cell sorter is made up of 3 levels: the CMOS image sensor, the heaters and the microfluidic channel, all fabricated in one production flow in imec's 200mm cleanroom facilities. The main elements of the cell sorter are the microfluidic channel, a simple light source, a CMOS imager, microheaters, and different in- and outlet channels. So how does our cell sorter work? When a blood sample is loaded into the system, the cells flow in via the main microfluidic channel. The sample contains a whole range of cells, several types of white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and maybe even some rare cells, such as circulating tumour cells. The microfluidic channel is about 30 microns wide, about the size of a single cell. Conditioned light illuminates the cells and results in fringe patterns that are recorded by the CMOS image sensor. These fringe patterns contain information on the 3D structure of the cell. The recorded holograms are then reconstructed into 2D images that are used to distinguish between the different types of cells based on cell size and nuclear morphology. These calculations, managed by an ASIC, need to be performed very quickly before the cells arrive at the microheaters further down the channel. The microheaters located at the crossing of outlets generate small and short-lived steam bubbles that gently but quickly push single cells to a particular outlet. While the red blood cells just go straight on, the white blood cells are brought to the lower outlet and the tumour cells are pushed in the upper outlet. The sorted cells can then be further analysed downstream, for instance by extracting specific molecular information. After sorting, high-resolution 2D or even 3D images of each single cell can be consulted for further visual analysis. In our parallelized CMOS-based approach, up to 1,000 of these cell-sorting channels can be integrated in one compact system measuring a few square centimeters. By combining the most advanced techniques from various domains and by leveraging the enormous power of silicon nanotechnology, imec is revolutionizing the way life science research and diagnostics are performed.
So, my time is up. I cannot go much further in details of what we are doing. So let me browse through the slides. And what I want to show you at the very end is actually, when we came here, a big question we had is, okay, what are the things that you guys are worried about? So we would be very happy to hear that from you. What are the topics that you want to discuss, how we can help? And I want to mention that life sciences is more than medicine, so there's lots of other activities around it or applications, for example, sports and lifestyle, veterinary application, food, water quality, and agriculture. Everything where biology is involved, basically life science technologies could potentially be a help and can help leveraging building your future. So thank you for your attention.
Interesting, and what is also interesting is the title of our next presentation, My Doctor Prescribes Silicon Sensor. It will be presented by Professor Chris Van Hoof, Program Director, Wearable Healthcare. Professor Chris Van Hoof received his PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Leuven in collaboration with imec in 1992. Since 2009, he is Department Director and Program Director of Wearable Healthcare in the Smart Systems Unit at imec and the Pulse Center in Eindhoven. He is imec Fellow and full Professor at the University of Leuven. So welcome, Professor.
Okay, good morning. I'm going to tell you more about coaching, prevention, and wearable devices. Now, I'm going to start with some bad news, and that is chronic disease is a huge problem. In the United States, 117 million people suffer from one or more chronic diseases. So geographically, it could look like this. Fortunately, it doesn't. But if you look in Kuwait, you know the statistics. They're also quite daunting. And looking at the World Health Organization data from a few years back, indeed, 73% of all deaths are caused by non-communicable diseases. And what are those patients today? Well, on one hand, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. In Kuwait, 2% of all deaths are due to chronic respiratory problems. Sleep apnea is another one of those problems that resides under those 2% of deaths. On the other hand, congestive heart failure is also a very big problem, and all cardiovascular diseases lead to 41% of all deaths in Kuwait. Type 2 diabetes is another big challenge. 4% of all deaths are due to diabetes. And hypertension statistics are also very big. 22% of all males, 16% of all females have hypertension in Kuwait, which is a precursor to chronic cardiovascular diseases. So lots of bad news. And what can we do? First of all, how can we help these patients? Well, we have been creating for the last 10 years patient monitoring solutions together with our partners. They became smaller and smaller, more and more comfortable, and ultimately now have been qualified and even have received FDA approval together with our partners. We have created one module filled with imec nanoelectronics innovations, which allows to explore many of these challenges and diseases. This module allows to monitor cardiovascular and cardiopulmonary conditions, as you can see here, ECG, respiration rate, respiration volume, impedance, and so on. And we've tested it on patients. We've tested it on about 50 patients with heart failure, and we can see fluid pooling either in the chest or in the legs. And we hope to come up with a patient monitoring index that indicates the status of the patient. We've also been able to look at sleep apnea with such modules. And here on the left you see normal patterns when people are breathing normally, and on the right you see what happens when patients have sleep apnea, when they stop breathing, and our wearable device can see this, which is a lot more convenient than today's hospital monitoring solution. Also, we can follow up patients with cardiac rhythm disorder thanks to a very compact patch. When the patient is healthy, you see these normal patterns, but when there is a particular arrhythmia, you see that like on the bottom. So this helps today's patients. Even when they get out of the hospital or when they are recovering, we can follow up their rehab thanks to a wearable device. We can follow up their respiration, heart rate, their activity, and so on. So this module, which uses ultra-low power silicon technology from imec, has a lot of possibilities. But such a little box may not be the best solution, and for that reason we are working on patches, on something like a band-aid that you stick on your skin and can then throw away. And you see a version of that here. All the electronics looks like a little memory stick, but it has the medical grade circuits, the signal processing, the radio, the battery, and so on. And we are validating this device as well in a number of use cases. Another platform that seems to be very attractive is a wristband device, and together with Samsung we've been working on the SimBand platform, which is a very, very advanced sensor platform at the wrist, able to do electrocardiogram, skin conductance, impedance, and so on. And it has so many sensors, but the main application, one of the key applications that we hope to achieve, is blood pressure, monitoring blood pressure without having to do a cuff-based measurement. This would be a lot more convenient for patients with hypertension. There's lots of innovations in that band that I will not discuss at this moment. So we are helping today's patients, but what about the future? Maybe we should start looking at the next generation of patients, and well, here they are. These are the next generation, and you can see them grow up like this. They're getting a little bit older, but what will their future look like? I'm sure today they are not thinking about the future. They're not thinking 40, 50 years ahead from now. But maybe if they would think about it, they would certainly hope for a long and healthy life. But there is trouble ahead, because they are eating too much sodium, fatty foods, don't eat enough vegetables, don't eat enough fruit. These are statistics in the United States. In addition, they are not sufficiently active. Young people spend 7 hours a day in front of a tablet or a screen, and in Kuwait, statistics of obesity are also very large. Furthermore, stress is another big problem. In the United States, a quarter of the young adults are very stressed at work, and we're looking at Kuwait statistics. 22 to 28% of university students apparently report very high stress. And in the United States, 17% smokes, and it's similar in Kuwait. So looking at all these risk factors, in fact, the future does not look so good. The future looks quite predictable. They will also develop chronic disease and live for a long time, hopefully, but a long time with chronic disease. And the question is, how can we turn this around? What can we do for the next generation? And in fact, the answer is trivial. We all know it. They have to live an active life. They have to eat a balanced diet. They should not be smoking and no alcohol. And they should manage their stress. It's very, very easy to say that. We all know it. But changing behavior is tremendously difficult. In fact, I had wonderful sweets this morning for breakfast. I should not have done that either. Well, not every day. So changing behavior is difficult, and for that reason we developed a program that we call the Virtual Personal Health Coach, because what really works very well is a personal coach who learns your habits, finds patterns, and can guide you towards a healthier lifestyle. Now, a personal coach is not scalable. That's why we want a virtual one, a digital assistant enriched with physiological information to guide you. And we are looking at several applications, in particular an active lifestyle. In the second place, the management of stress. Third place, stopping or preventing people from smoking. And we even look at specific eating disorders. We do this in close collaboration with psychologists, psychiatrists, behavioral scientists, because this requires technology, data science and algorithms, but certainly also behavioral sciences for coaching. Now, it is a difficult challenge, and it needs a lot of innovations. And what are those innovations? Well, this virtual coach truly has to learn our behavior, our habits, and our cravings, and then find patterns in those data and find triggers, and then give the right recommendation at the right time. And that way it can become a very, very effective coach. And so we started doing that. We started gathering information from sensors, from context, from smartphones, and we looked at patterns, and we could already see that certain people are morning persons and other people are evening persons. That already helps to give better advice. And we looked at activity and diet patterns over time. And you may wonder, what can you do with that? Well, if my virtual coach would see a pattern today that looks very similar to a pattern 3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago I ate Kentucky Fried Chicken, then maybe today it would give me advice so that to prevent that habit from happening. So looking at the past to help you to a healthier behavior in the future. Also, we started comparing people, habits similarities between subjects, so as to have a bigger base of information and to be better at predicting behavior. We also started looking at group affiliation. Does your behavior belong in a particular group? Then we give you advice that seems to work very well for that group. So it's really a combination of hardware, software, data sciences to give the right information at the right time. Looking at stress, managing stress, it's even more difficult because today there is no quantitative measurement of stress. And today it is done by questionnaires. And so we are now running a very large trial on 1,500 people to measure physiological indicators of stress at work using wearable sensors. And we monitor 30 parameters or even more. And quality of data is very good, and now we are developing algorithms. And you see here one of these wearable devices and the signals it is acquiring. And that's the basis for creating machine learning and deep learning algorithms that hopefully give a quantitative indication of stress. And we already see that the results are very promising, because when comparing healthy people with truly stress-sensitive people, we do see very different responses. So there is definitely some predictive possibility in here. Our next generation band and wearable will also be able to give feedback at the right time. So this is our next prototype that we will have ready by the end of the year for a next trial, not anymore on detection, but on the coaching part. Looking at smoking, we have just started this year on a program to prevent relapse, so when people have stopped smoking. And we call that the ASSIST study. And what we really want to see is, can we detect when you want to smoke a cigarette? Can we detect the craving? Can we detect the pattern that you're walking maybe to your smoking area? And then give you advice early enough, and preferably healthy advice. So we started this trial. It will run probably over 6 months, where we follow people that have just decided to stop smoking, and we hope to see urges and cues and thresholds, and use that for algorithm development towards this virtual coach for smoking rehabilitation. Now, as you see from these examples, in terms of the virtual coach, it's the beginning of a long journey. There is a lot of work left to be done, a lot of opportunities for partnering, both in the hardware as in the data sciences and the algorithms, as well as in the coaching itself. But it is a beginning of a journey, but hopefully with a big impact towards a scalable personal health coach, and with the aim to really change the next generation and to avoid them from becoming patients. Now, maybe some of you may say, will this ever work, and will this have sufficient impact? Well, even if it only works for 10% of the people, looking at the cost of healthcare in the United States, that would already mean $130 billion saved and millions of lives saved. So even a partial success will have already a tremendous benefit for society, also here in Kuwait. And our vision of the future is really one of prevention, to get this gentleman from the hospital bed, maybe still on a surfboard when he's older. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Ms. Harmeke de Groot, we would like to welcome Mr. Joris van Driesch, Program Manager, to give us details about how the Internet of Things is growing and the challenges it is facing. Mr. Joris received his MSc in Electrical Engineering from the University of Ghent in 2001. He directly joined imec and worked as radio frequency front-end architecture research engineer, with main focus on system specification and architecture definition of multi-standard radio frequency transceivers. In 2006, he became project manager on reconfigurable radio frequency transceivers in the wireless department at imec, focusing on challenges towards true software-defined radio transceivers optimized for advanced complementary metal oxide semiconductor technologies. Currently, he is program manager for the 5G wireless communication research activities at IMEC. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. So in this presentation, I will talk about a research program on perceptive systems for the intuitive Internet of Things. And you cannot, can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I will come closer to the mic. So good morning. So in this presentation, I will talk about a research program that we have ongoing on perceptive systems for the intuitive Internet of Things. And I will give you several examples of how some of our recent achievements will help in turning the hype of the Internet of Things into the realization of smart environments. So in the coming decade, we will see a tremendous increase in the number of smart connected devices. So vehicles, buildings, personal applications, they will be equipped with intelligence that will be interconnected, the Internet of Things. These devices, they will be small, low cost, intelligent, and these will typically include sensors, actuators, but also processing and communication capabilities. Now at IMEC, we want to bring this Internet of Things to the next level. So to do so, we developed the building blocks for an easy-to-use, intuitive Internet of Things, an Internet of Things that surrounds us unnoticed and that interacts with us as individuals, that learns from our habits, our preferences, or our health. And together with our partners, we work on new sensor technologies, low-cost wireless solutions, and sensor networks, and these will enable many different new applications, such as autonomous driving vehicles, smart buildings, smart cities, for example, where data is monitored and analyzed real time, such that traffic flows are much smoother, or for example, water is supplied more efficiently, and in general, resources are used more economically. So this new intuitive Internet of Things will increase or will improve our well-being and comfort, and will also help to manage the safety and the sustainability of our world. So in this presentation, I will go over the main challenges that we see for this future Internet of Things. I will talk about some of the recent achievements and end with a research roadmap. So many objects, in the future we can expect many objects to be connected to the Internet. From the 200 million we had in 2000, we will evolve to more than 10 billion that we have today, and towards more than 100 billion in the future. Imagine, for example, that every package that is shipped worldwide will be equipped with a sensor that, for example, is capable of keeping track of the location, but also the environmental conditions, such as temperature and humidity, to guarantee the quality of the packet. So only that will already lead to a huge amount of objects and sensors that will be connected to the Internet. Further, we also see that by 2020, we will have at least 9 connected devices per person. So we see the number of objects will increase exponentially. And as a result of that, we will also see an exponential growth in the amount of data that's being sent over the Internet. So what you can see on this slide, which is a prediction from Cisco Systems, and it mentions the number of exabytes of data that will be sent over the Internet per month. And 1 exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. So we see that in 2017 we will have more than 10 exabytes of data being generated per month, which is a factor of 10 to what we had in 2012. Now, sending all of this data just to the cloud and getting it processed there will not work, because this will congest the network, basically. So we need to do things more clever. So we need to use, for example, local processing, such that many of the redundant data that's being measured can be removed, and only the useful data is being put in the cloud and on the Internet. Another main challenge that we see is interoperability. So typically in a sensor network, sensors will come from different manufacturers and are using different wireless protocols. For example, if you want to install a smart thermostat in your home using the Thread protocol, and you want to connect it to your smartwatch, which is using Bluetooth LE or Wi-Fi, then in practice this means that we will need some kind of a gateway that will translate one protocol into the other, and this without any delay or without any loss of packets. And another main challenge that we see is related to security and privacy. So we are all very well aware of malware that can be installed on your personal computer and potentially giving access to unwanted parties to your personal information. Same story for your smartphone, which can also be vulnerable to attacks. And what about the future when we have these many connected devices to the internet? Could your baby monitor, for example, be used to spy on you, or is your smart TV keeping track of what you are watching, or maybe even eavesdropping on you? Or imagine that even your car would be attacked by malicious hackers. So this is definitely a problem that needs to be tackled before the Internet of Things can become a success. However, we also see there's huge opportunity. So if you look at recent market reports, it is predicted that the IoT, the Internet of Things, will overtake wireless as a growth driver. We also see new sensors popping up, and they will be a game changer, and they start delivering content to the IoT. And we also see that operators are starting to roll out M2M networks, such as, for example, in Europe, but also in the Middle East, LoRa and Sigfox networks are being rolled out that can be, for example, be used for logistics. However, there's still a lot of uncertainty. So despite the many beautiful promises of these smart environments, we still see very little of that in our day-to-day lives. And this is actually a chicken and egg problem. So if you look at the sensor companies, they are rarely tuned in possible new sensor applications. While on the other hand, companies who wanted to develop such applications are not very well aware of the state-of-the-art sensor landscape. So this results in current IoT solutions being limited to just visualizing time series of sensor data, or for example, that allows to use your smartphone as a remote control for your washing machine, for example. And related to that, we see also a new ecosystem evolving, and OEMs such as Apple and Google in investing in IC development. And another main problem that we see is either, for example, for the wireless, there are too many different standards like Zigbee, Bluetooth LE, LoRa, and Sigfox. And this uncertainty on which standard that will prevail actually creates the need for reconfigurable ultra-low power solutions. So this brings me to the intuitive Internet of Things. What is this exactly? So if you look at the dictionary, it defines the word intuitive as pure direct knowledge independent from any reasoning process. And this is exactly what this technology will bring us. So by having a world full of invisible sensors around us that take lots of readings, and by combining these readings together with information from the cloud, we can stay up to date with everything that is happening all around us. And from these sensor systems, we see also a tremendous evolution in the past years. So going from dumb systems that act, that how they are hardwired, towards adaptive systems that can tune themselves based on pre-programmed situations, towards smart systems that are capable of acting depending on what their sensors are measuring. And we go all the way up to perceptive systems that not only can react on what their systems are measuring, but can also react based on information from the cloud. This could be, for example, readings from other sensors. There could also be traffic information, or for example, the weather forecast. Now, to realize this vision of these perceptive systems, we work on a range of building blocks, such as reliable, good quality and ultra-efficient sensors, also circuits for low-cost wireless connectivity, and sensor networks. And we want to bring this up to the application level. So as already said, it's very important to have a good view on the application requirements to come up with new Internet of Things kind of applications. And for that reason, we have built a development platform for distributed IoT applications. On this platform, new applications can be tried out and simulated and, at an early stage. And this testbed is, for example, also offered to companies. They can test, for example, their own new sensors or their own new connectivity radios, and as such they can accelerate the market up the introduction of their new IoT application. So we value the horizontal platforms that can help to reduce the NRE cost for these companies, and we also work on vertical solutions for security, algorithms, and data fusion, for example. Now, one of the applications that we have implemented on this testbed is air quality monitoring. So you could, for example, take readings of the air quality in your home, in the city, or in the parking garage. And the fact that this is an interesting application is shown by these numbers here from the World Health Organization, stating that air pollution is a major cause of early mortality, where worldwide more than 7 million people die prematurely because of that. And the World Health Organization also suggests that up to 30% of the buildings may have poor indoor quality, leading to the so-called sick building syndrome. Further, we also see a tremendous increase in the number of people that having asthma and allergies. So what is happening today? Well, actually, readings are being taken using extensive sensor systems at a few places in the city. But this is actually not enough, and this is illustrated in this example. Here, air quality measurements have been done in Paris, in 2 streets located less than 1 kilometer from each other. And there you can see in one street we have good air quality, and another one we have actually very bad quality. This could be, for example, that in one street is located near to a park, and as such you have good quality, and in the other street there could be a traffic jam. So if we want to make this data useful, we need personal we need personal air quality measurements. And for that we actually need low costs and small sensor systems, and this will help us to get a clear picture of the situation. And as such, for example, in buildings you could adjust the ventilation so that you can get optimal air quality everywhere. Or for example, by combining these air quality measurements together with your diary, your smartphone can tell you which jogging circuit would be best to go on, or which is the best way to bike to work. So as such, we developed this platform for distributed environmental monitoring. If you look at commercial solutions, it's actually very difficult to find these kind of systems that measure air quality. And in this platform, we implemented several gas sensors such as CO2, NO2, volatile organic compounds. It can also measure temperature, humidity, light, vibration, and many more. The platform also includes connectivity such that the data that's being measured can be sent to the gateway, which then puts it on the internet so you can follow the measurements in real time. Further, we also implemented several algorithms on this platform for self-calibration. So for example, data fusion is one of the algorithms that we implemented here. So by using more than one type of gas sensor, and by using many different sensors, we can actually look for correlation between the data, and in this way measurements will be much more accurate than just using one sensor. And this can actually be used to calibrate the system over the internet. Also, data analytics are very important. As already said, a huge amount of data is being generated. A lot of the data is actually redundant, so data analytics is the key to extract only the useful information from that. Other things can also be tested with this testbed. As already said, in a sensor network, Sensors will come from different manufacturers using different wireless protocols. Interoperability is very important, and service needs to be guaranteed, so we need to make sure that we meet the reliability, latency, and power requirements. Also, other things such as low-cost installation and maintenance can be tested with this testbed, such as over-the-air software updates and easy commissioning. Now, another sensor application that we're working on is RF localization based on RF communication. For this technique, we do not need any satellites, and it can also be used indoor, this technique. And we actually use low-cost or cheap standard radios such as Bluetooth Smart and Zigbee, and we implement our algorithms on top of that, algorithms that can measure the time between the transmitted and the received signal together with the phase difference, and this allows us to calculate the distance between transmitter and receiver. Now this can open up several new applications. It can, for example, be used for wayfinding in large buildings such as airports and shopping malls, but it can also be used, for example, to track and map the sensors in your sensor networks, which can be very useful if your sensor networks contains more than 1,000 sensors. Finding these and mapping these sensors is very important for the maintenance for your sensor network, and allows, for example, recharging batteries. Another interesting application is actually that it can also help to increase the safety of your sensor network. So by using proximity as a parameter, you can disable certain functions when you're, for example, not in your home or not in a car. And by disabling potential harmful functions when you're not at home, you have automatically reduced the security threat to the one that you have today, and this is when a burglar enters your home. So this testbed has been rolled out and validated in real life at many different places in the whole center. This is the research center in IMec, the Netherlands. Also, a sensor network has been implemented in the Ajax soccer stadium. And there, for example, air quality measurements have been done during a concert. It has been seen that in some places in the stadium air quality was not good, and based on that they changed the ventilation in this venue. In the City of Things project, also air quality measurements are deployed at large scale by putting a mobile unit on the postcars, driving around the city, running for 24 hours. We can generate a large database of air quality measurements through the city. And also, for example, it has been deployed in a botanical garden, where combining our air quality measurements together with biological parameters, this can help researchers to gain insight in the health and the growth of the forest. Obviously, the testbed is also available to companies that want to test their own sensors or want to evaluate new sensors, and we can help them with new algorithms or defining new kinds of applications. And this brings me to another interesting sensor technology that we are working on at IMec, and this is a millimeter wave radar. Now, why are millimeter wave frequencies interesting? Well, millimeter wave frequencies are very robust. They can see or sense in complete darkness. They can also, I will try to speed up a bit. So they can see in complete darkness, or through fog and through dirt. And at millimeter wave, they can also be made very small. So if you look at CMOS radar, if you look at radar chips today, they are typically being realized in silicon germanium technology, which makes them expensive. In our research program, we are investigating to make them in standard foundry process, such as 28 nanometer CMOS, and as such we can generate these radars in high volumes and at low cost. Specifically, we are looking at 79 gigahertz for automotive applications. It could be used, for example, for parking assistance, but also for pedestrian detection, for example. And in the end, we want to go towards very small radars that can be integrated completely on chip. And this is our 140 gigahertz program that we have ongoing. So I'll skip a few slides, and I'll just explain you. So the specifications for the pedestrian detection are very tough, and for that we need a very accurate radar system. So an accuracy of radar is expressed in range resolution, angular resolution, and velocity resolution, also the Doppler resolution. And at IMEC we have used some innovative techniques to realize these kind of numbers. And the result you see on this slide, this is actually a 79 GHz radar module with the antennas integrated onto a commercial PCB technology, and on the back side you have our integrated circuit in the 28 nanometer CMOS, including the full millimeter wave transceiver, high-speed analog to digital converters, and also high-speed dedicated digital circuitry to improve the radar, to get a high-resolution radar functionality. We can go up to higher frequencies. At higher frequencies, we have the ability to integrate antenna and chip, and as such, we can design a complete radar direct from the fab, which is opening up a lot of new possibility of consumer applications. And a final word on our wireless connectivity solutions. So we work on the full spectrum of wireless connectivity solutions, so both the very high data rate as well as the very low data rate, very ultra low power solutions. So here, for example, you see a solution that we have been working on at 60 gigahertz. At 60 gigahertz, there's huge bandwidth available, and as such, you can realize very high data rates, but you also need to overcome the very high path loss at these frequencies, and this we do by using a phased array transceiver. And this specific implementation is for WiGig, which is a point-to-point communication, which is high speed which, for example, allows high-speed cable replacement. The system can actually also be extended. So this was a 4-antenna system on the previous slide. It can be extended to a 16-antenna module. And it's very nice to see that this technology can also be used to get very high data rates over larger ranges. And for example, currently we are investigating to use this as well in a 5th generation of wireless connectivity, for example, for backhaul applications, or for example also for fixed wireless access. And as already said, we're also working on ultra low power wireless solutions for sensor nodes with a very nice record with world's lowest power and state-of-the-art performance, especially our Bluetooth implementation has very low power, and currently we're also working on new kind of solutions for low power wide area networks, which can be used, for example, for logistics applications or smart metering applications. And as already said, a multi-standard solution in this IoT with many different wireless standards is very important to solve some of this uncertainty. Okay, so this concludes my talk. I've given a very quick overview of some of the technologies that we are working on, technologies that will help in turning the hype of the Internet of Things into the realization of smart environments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will have a short 15 minutes break since we're running out of time. So at 11:30, please, we will be here and start again with the energy part. Thank you.